so fluffy. They're too fluffy. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Rayleigh Bradshaw. I'm an aspiring author of YA historical fiction, and today, during this beautiful month of NaNoWriMo, I am bringing you a tag, the Behind the Book tag. So this tag was created by Mandi Lynn in anticipation of her latest book release for her book, She's Not Here. I was tagged by Brooke Passamore. If you haven't watched either of their videos, go ahead and watch them. They're both linked below. So this NaNoWriMo, I am being a rebel because I'm working on not one, but 2 books. For those of you who aren't caught up to any of my previous videos, I'll just explain why I'm being a little bit of a Nano rebel this year. Because traditionally, during NaNoWriMo, you start a brand new project and finish that book in 50,000 words. I'm being a Nano rebel because I'm still working on the same novel that I started last NaNoWriMo. My goal is to finish that this NaNoWriMo and then continue reaching towards my goal of 50,000 words for the entire month by starting my next project. Since I've already talked a great deal on my channel about my current work in progress, a western called Untamable, a lot of you have been asking about my new project that I'm planning on starting this month, which I have given the working title of Awake. So I thought this tag would be a great opportunity for me to stop being so sneaky about all of this and stop keeping you all in such suspense. I know you're all just dying to know about Awake. And so in this tag, I'm actually going to be talking about my new project, Awake. Woohoo! Get excited, everybody! So the first question of the tag is, what is my book about and what genre is it? Awake is a paranormal historical fiction set during World War II on a farm in the British countryside. The story follows a young woman who wakes up trapped inside a wall with no memory of who she is, where she came from, or how she got to be trapped inside this wall. As her senses slowly return to her, she manages to scream for help and is lucky enough to be trapped inside the wall of an old run-down home in the British countryside that the locals have deemed as haunted. As luck would have it, it just happens to be Halloween, and so a group of teenagers have snuck into this haunted house to tell each other ghost stories, and they manage to hear her cry for help and get her out of this wall. She is unlucky in that she has awoken right on the brink of World War II, and as 2 of the teenagers who helped rescue her from this wall in which she was trapped take her into their own home and allow her to become part of their family, she must learn how to pull her weight on the farm and do her bit to help in the war cause, all while struggling with her own identity crisis, trying to figure out who she is and where she came from. In the meantime, there are stories of strange disappearances and reappearances of people throughout the world, as well as a mysterious army of monsters that seems to have risen. Over the course of the story, our protagonist begins to fear that she just may be one of these monsters herself. It's about as good as that's gonna get, as far as synopsis goes. It's still new, I'm still figuring it out. Question number 2, was my story inspired by anything in real life? Well, considering that it's a historical fiction, I'd say yeah! It was inspired by World War II. So actually, because I'm such a history nut and I just find watching biographies and historical things really fascinating. One time a few years ago, I was watching this documentary on World War II. Actually, I watched a series of documentaries on World War II because that's just a fascinating time period to me. And then one of the documentaries that I watched was actually focused specifically on British agriculture during World War II and how the farmers were actually fighting a battle of their own as they fought to produce enough food to feed their country. So before World War II began, I believe Britain was receiving up to, I think it was either 40% or more of their food was imported from other countries. And so when World War II started, there was this fear that the Nazis were going to cut off their food supply and they would starve to death. And so British farmers had to completely change the way that they did things and there was actually a lot of drama involved. It was a war on its own, just in the farming community. And I found this really fascinating, and I thought that'd be fun to write a story about, but reading about a bunch of farmers would probably get boring. It would need something more. And then at a totally different time, having nothing to do with thinking about World War II, I was sitting at my desk at work, and I think I was reading a news story about a group of Boy Scouts who got trapped inside of a mountain after an avalanche or a cave-in or something like that, and just that fear that they must have been feeling trapped inside a tight, dark space waiting for help to come. And I thought, what if that had happened to someone and they had hit their head and they just woke up encased in this dark, small place and they couldn't remember who they were or how they'd gotten there, and just that feeling of panic. I just imagined that feeling of panic that you would experience. And then from there, the idea for this story was created, and I was really excited about it. I'd never written a monster story, and I also liked the idea of writing from the perspective of a monster who is not bad and doesn't realize that they are a monster. So it's kind of this misunderstood monster, paranormal, historical fiction kind of book. Question number 3, why did I start writing the story? Well, as of the filming of this video right now, I haven't really started. No, that's not true. I started writing this story, frankly, because I couldn't stop thinking about it. And it was exciting to me, and I thought maybe this is a really dumb idea, maybe it'll come off sounding more like a Magic Treehouse kind of book, and can I get away with making this more for young adults, or can I make this more of a YA or new adult kind of book, or will it sound too much like a children's book with the whole misunderstood monster thing? And when it came right down to it, one time I was driving in the car with my husband, and when we go on long road trips, sometimes we play this game where we tell each other stories and make them up on the spot. And I had a few elements of this story, but I had never tried to piece them all together into one cohesive story before. And so while we were driving, I just started telling him this story, and he was like, "That's good, you made that up right now?" And I was like, well, sort of. I already had a few of the ideas. He thought it was interesting, but also he understood where I was coming from, that it's a little bit risky of a story because it can either come off as super cheesy and ridiculous, or it can potentially be really good and something totally unique. And so I liked the idea of it being so challenging, and I really feel like it's something that I can do, and even if I can't, it's something I really want to try, because I've just got to, because the story has been inside of me, and I've come to really fall in love with the characters already and the idea, so that's why I started writing it. And actually the opening of the book, I started writing it almost immediately when it came to me. I've had moments where I've just had to sit down and the inspiration was coming so strong that it was just like free-flowing, and I just wrote it out by hand and then typed it out, so that's why. That's why you start a story, folks. It's when you just can't stop thinking about it and it has to come out! Alright, and then question number 4 seems a little bit existential to me, but what is it that I hope for readers to think or feel when they read my story? And man, what don't I want them to feel? I think I want my readers to feel a sense of wonderment, and I do kind of want them to feel enchanted, as well as mystified, maybe scared at times. I want my readers to feel like they are actually there in the story. And I know a lot of people, historical fiction can be really boring to them, especially I've heard a few people say on here that they specifically don't like the World War II era. And that era, to be honest, because there's so many people who really do like it, like myself, I feel like it has been way overdone in a lot of popular books and movies and TV shows. And so I'm really hoping that I will be able to create that time period and that setting in a way that will feel new and fresh, and in a way that I want my readers to feel like they can't get enough of it and they wish that they could be there. I want it to be unlike any World War II book you've ever read, which I know that's pretty ambitious of me because there are some really, really great World War II books out there. But yeah, these questions are from me, these are my answers, it's true, that's what I want the reader to feel. So, yeah, that was a short tag, there's those 4 questions, but I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing a little bit more about my future work in progress that hopefully I will be starting around now, really. I'm hoping that by the time this video is posted, I will have already written the words "The End" on Untamable, and that I will be fully immersed in Awake. Thank you guys so much for watching, and now it's my pleasure to get to tag some people of my own, and I feel like this tag is very fitting during NaNoWriMo because a lot of people are starting new projects, and even if they're not, I feel like these questions are still pretty fresh. They're not really like any other questions I've heard in other tags. So, that being said, I am going to tag Janet Greaves, Christy Schuler, Rebecca Rodriguez, and Don Kosak to do this tag. So ladies, I hope that I can see this tag from you, and I hope to hear more about your stories. Good luck on NaNoWriMo, everybody, even for those of you who are not participating and are doing your own writing journey thing, like I know Christy Schuler is doing this month. Good luck to all of you. Happy writing, everybody, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!
Would you come and take a walk with me? We'll cross over the mountains and we'll reach the pale blue sea. I love you, I'm so glad you love me too, and I wrote this song for you.